G'day collectors, Rob here for episode 11 of Aussie Diecast Reviews. Hope you're all doing well and I hope you're enjoying the show. So with the Enduro season done and dusted, I think I'll show some more Australian Touring Car Championship or V8 Supercar Championship winning cars for the next few episodes. The V8 Supercar Championship has only got one more round to go, that's in Sydney Olympic Park. And it's going to be a close finish between the Red Bull cars of Shane Van Gisbergen and Jamie Whincup. But I think Shane Van Gisbergen will take the championship for 2016, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the outcome will be. So for episode 11 we'll be reviewing an Australian Touring Car Championship winning car, and we'll be going back into the very late 90s era of V8 supercar racing. Plus the car that we'll be looking at today is another Craig Lowndes and HRT model as well, and I'll give my honest opinion about the model, so that's what we'll be looking at today. So let's get stuck into it and I'll kick it off and I'll be reviewing this car here. Sweet. Okay, as I said before, some of my models have been, or model boxes have been packed away in storage, and I keep them in plastic containers, so no model box today for this particular car. But anyway, so here we have a Biante Model Cars 118 Holden VS Commodore V8 Supercar. The team is the Holden Racing Team and the driver is Craig Lowndes. This model is based off the 1998 Australian Touring Car Championship season car, but as I said, it is an Australian Touring Car Championship winning model, so it is part of the Championship Winners Collection or Holden Racing Team Collection and Craig Lowndes Collection. So for the people watching, they may or may not know about the Holden Racing Team. Say from 1996 to 2002 there was one team that was on the rise in the Australian Touring Car Championship, and that team was, and I say was because the team will be no more next year, but the team was known as the Holden Racing Team, or HRT for short. Originally the team was established in 1988 as part of the joint venture between Holden, Tom Walkinshaw and Larry Perkins. And it was to form the Holden Special Vehicles, or Tom Walkinshaw Racing, or TWR. So TWR was to run Holden Motorsport program with Larry Perkins, and Larry Perkins left in 1989, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, then it was formed into the Holden Racing Team. And from there on in, the team has become one of the most successful teams in pit lane, winning a number of championships and Bathurst 1000s. So yeah, that's what we'll be looking at, one of those winning cars today. So without further ado, let's have a bit of a look at what this car did. In 1998, Craig Lowndes would return to the Holden Racing Team and to V8 Supercar Racing as a full-time driver. After a short European stint in open-wheel racing, Lowndes would also see a new teammate of Mark Skaife join the Holden Racing Team. Mark Skaife would fill the seat of 9 times Bathurst champion Peter Brock after his announcement he would retire at the end of 1997 season. The 1998 Australian Touring Car Championship was contested over a 10-round series, which began on 1st of February 1998 at Sandown International Motor Raceway and ended on the 2nd of August at Oran Park International Raceway. Craig Lowndes would win the first 2 rounds of the championship, while a hard-charging Russell Ingall would be hot on Lowndes' tail in the Perkins Castrol Holden Commodore. This would be the trend for the rest of the 98 championship. Halfway through the season, the Holden teams of Holden Racing Team and Perkins Engineering would switch to the underdeveloped VT Commodores. Lowndes went on to win another 5 rounds, while Ingall only scored 3 rounds. But the championship would go down at the last round at Oran Park, due to heavy rain that cancelled the last race at Calder Park. The points were very close. Lowndes had a slim lead over Ingall for the Oran Park finale. Lowndes would qualify on pole position while Ingall would struggle in the back of the field. But in the end, Lowndes and the Holden Racing Team would win the round and the 1998 Australian Touring Car Championship, and Craig Lowndes would take his second championship. For 1998, the driver they called the Kid made an impressive return to touring car racing. And now let's look at the model. Alrighty, so on to the model. As I said, there's no box for today's episode, so I'll move straight on to the certificate of authenticity. Alrighty, so onto the certificate. It's pretty plain. Limited edition of 2000 out of 881, that's the number I have, so certificate is not signed. So yeah, other than that, there is no collectible flyer for this car, so we'll just move straight on to the model. Alrighty, time for the car reveal, and there you go. So the car that we have here is a Holden VS Commodore V8 Supercar. Now, as I said in the pre-video, halfway during the 98 season, some of the Holden teams introduced the VT Commodore, just before Bathurst or the Enduro rounds, I'm pretty sure. The VT was in very early stages of development, and yeah, HRT and Perkins Racing, or Perkins Engineer, decided to run it later in the season, and I'm pretty sure it was just to get a head start in the following season of 1999. But the very well developed VS Commodore should get the recognition by winning most of the races that season for HRT. And as I said, with Lowndes returning from a stint in Europe with Formula 3000, he returned as a full-time driver and pretty much dominated from the word go. So in 1998 would see the start of the dominant HRT era, or HRT years. Plus there was a lot of changes. We saw Peter Brock leave the championship in 1997. We also saw Mark Scaife join the Holden racing team as well in 1998. So yeah, it was a very big change for the 98 season. So yeah, now we'll move on to the model. So starting off with the model details, and as always I'll start with the front of the car and work my way around. So as I said, this is a Biante model car. Very well replicated front end, and ride height and suspension and wheel camber are all very well done for the VS mould, or VS tooling for Biante. Some of the little details here, you've got the TWR logo. Most of the Holden racing team cars ran that from 1997 till 2002, I'm pretty sure. 2002 TWR, there was some trouble with ownership problems and that got abandoned, so yeah, TWR logo. But yeah, Biante have done a fantastic job with this, well, this tooling for the VS Commodore. Alrighty, now onto the bonnet and engine details. So with the majority of HRT cars, you always have the Holden line, well, not on this car anyway, but probably from the start of 1990 or the early 2000s, they would run a line, and pretty much the majority of the cars would run Mobile 1. You'll see that in most of the Holden racing team cars. But yeah, for the bonnets you'd always get like a line, but I think I'll show you the top of the roof. But as for detail wise and paint wise, absolutely spot on with how they've replicated the actual car. You know, you get the bonnet pins, I think they're plastic. Alrighty, let's see if this bonnet stays up, and it does. So we'll move on to the engine details. This would be a HRT spec engine or a Chev engine. Most of the Holden teams would run it. They would produce anywhere from 600 to 650 horsepower. Yeah, very powerful cars. Now for detail wise for the Biante model, none of this comes off, but you get the carbon fibre engine cover. And that's basically it. It's probably not as detailed as the classic collectibles VS Commodore, but other than that, yeah, it's not bad for a pretty old model. So that is the front of the car and the engine details. Alrighty, so moving on to the side of the car, you have the, I think they were 18-inch Bridgestone wheels, very well replicated wheel rim. You got all the Bridgestone decals as well on the tyres. But Biante have actually, like as I said, they've replicated the livery on this car superbly, right down to the helmet and the line. That's the it was the trademark logo of the Holden racing team. Yeah, then Lowndes would run the number 15 for, I think it was from 1997, I'm pretty sure, to, yeah, till 1998. But yeah, very, very well replicated livery from Biante. So that was the side of the car. Now we'll move on to the rear. Alright, so looking at the rear of the car, we'll do a boot test, see if that stays up. I'm pretty sure it does. It does. So you get the detailed fuel system. These are dual fuel systems. Then you get the oil filter in there, so very, very well replicated and detailed from Biante. So yeah, that was the rear of the car. Now just looking underneath the VS Commodore, you have the dual exhaust system, all the gearbox in the engine. So yeah, nothing special underneath there. And we'll have a look at the interior of the Commodore. So with the interior on this car, you get a detailed race net, nice fabric or material that the Biante have used. So now we'll have a look inside the Commodore. We'll zoom in, and there you go. Now on the steering wheel, they've got the detailed HSV logo on there, so that's pretty cool. Then you've got like little logos there. I think that's Smart Buy. But other than that, yeah, the tooling for the, I'm pretty sure it was for the VR and VS. Biante have done a very good job with the tooling, the way they've replicated it. You've got the fire extinguisher down there, 6-point racing harness as well, the racing seat as well there. This is just looking at the back of the car. You've got the driver's drink bottle and cooling system, and you've got the straps that run down. They connect to the anti-roll bar, or not the anti-roll bar, the actual roll bar for support. So this is looking at the passenger side door. Now you can see what I mean by the detail. With the decals, they've got all the Mobil 1 logos on there. All the ignition switches as well have been very well replicated. Then you've got on the dash, now there was race cam in this, in the real car there was, but they'd have the Bridgestone and all the logos there for the race cam. And even down here, they've got all the Holden logos and HSV logos. So yeah, Biante have done a fantastic job on this car. Alrighty guys, so that's the model details. Now we'll give my honest review about this car and then we'll wrap it up. Alrighty, time for my honest review about this car. First up, quality. As always from Biante model cars, you're going to get a very well or high quality 118 die-cast model car. And this model is definitely one of those cars. The paint quality is second to none. Very well replicated. Decals, you know, and so forth. So in terms of quality, I'll give it 2 thumbs up. That brings me on to detail. Again, you're going to get a very well detailed model, right down from the decals, the wheels, the interior, and the overall, just the tooling of the actual model is spot on. Plus you get all opening parts, you know, bonnet, doors, boot, and plus, you know, you get a reasonable detailed engine bay. So again, 2 thumbs up for detail. Goods and bads, we'll start with goods. The car is all good, to be honest, that's it. Biante have done an excellent job with their VS Commodore tooling, and yeah, it's all good. As I said, the paintwork and the way they've replicated it from the actual real car or the real livery for this car is absolutely spot on. Plus the ride height and camber, the way it sits on the shelf, looks fantastic, so yeah, it's all good. Bads, well, look, if I was to pick at it for bads, I would have to say the engine bay, but look, it's still a very detailed car, but look, other than that, there's very little bads for this model. That brings me on to price. I brought this car back in late 2005 or early 2006, I'm pretty sure, from my local hobby dealer for a price of $185. This car was released back in November 2005, so it's only a couple of years old now. Asking price for this model, if you're looking at getting this car, they're going for around the $190 to $300 mark. So yeah, it is an Australian Touring Car Championship winner. They're not really that expensive, to be honest. That brings me on to eBay price. There's not a lot of these models on the market at the moment. I've only seen one or two on eBay, and they're going for around the $200 mark. So yeah, they're a rare model to find on eBay at the moment. But by the look of it, you're not going to pay anything over the $300 mark for this car at the moment, unless the certificate has been signed by Craig, or it's a very low number. How rare is the car? Well, look, some factors for rareness. It is in some way a championship winning car. Lowndes' second championship win, HRT second championship win. So yeah, if you are a Holden, HRT or Craig Lowndes fan, or just a general collector, I would say definitely yes, it is a part of the championship winners collection. So yeah, at the moment they are a car that is hard to find as well. But I have recently been informed by Julian on the Biante forum. He's a part of the Biante staff for Biante model cars. And I recently asked a question about any future developments with the Holden VT Commodore that Lowndes, he technically won the 1998 Australian Touring Car Championship in. And he replied saying, keep an eye out on the upcoming announcements. And Biante are looking at revamping their older tooling of the VT Holden Commodore that they have released a couple of years ago. But he was saying that will require an expensive facelift by the sounds of it. Plus they need the order numbers to get the project moving, which is very understandable. So yeah, it may or may not go ahead. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just, that's what I've been told. But if that does come to fruition, it might make this car a little bit less valuable in some way. So yeah, that's just some news if anyone's interested. And thanks to Julian from Biante for the reply as well. Car to compare it to. There is and there isn't. Biante are the only model company at the moment that make this car. I'm talking about the 1998 Australian Touring Car Championship winning car, but Classic Collectibles have made a Holden VS Commodore, and who knows, maybe Classics might make this style of car one day, but yeah, at the moment just Biante model cars have made this car. Rating out of 10, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 for this model. Look, as I said, you get a very high quality model car with all opening parts, a reasonably detailed engine bay and interior. So all in all, a very, very replicated model car, very well detailed, and if you're a passionate collector, I would highly recommend it for your collection. So that's it for episode 11 today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, leave a like, subscribe and a share, all that good stuff. For the next episode I might do another Holden Racing Team car. Yeah, I'll see what happens there. So that's it, guys, and as always, catch you around next time for another episode of Aussie Diecast Reviews. So catch ya.